Emmanuel Umezingwa, the Vice Chancellor of University. We salute you. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, please permit me to welcome in a special way the chairman of today's event and the Vice Chancellor of our great university, Professor Charles Okechukwu Simone, Fellow Academy of Science, ably represented. Please may we appreciate the Vice Chancellor. Thank you. Thank you and welcome. I may also inform us that the wife of the Vice Chancellor is also here, Associate Professor Chinyere Esimone. We welcome you. The chairman of the Inaugural Lecture Committee is also with us, ably represented today by Professor Mike Ezenwa. We salute you. So we have our professors here present, and we wish to also welcome all of us because this is a pure academic program. And in no particular order, please permit me to recognize our professors here present, so before we can continue, and of course, some other people. We have here Professor Rumi Okoye. We welcome you, our own dear retired professor, but not tired. You are welcome. We have in our midst the Dean of the Faculty of Education, Professor Vivian Mobo. We salute you. We also have the Dean of the Faculty of Arts, Professor Mwamara Alvan Ikoku Mwamara. We salute you, we thank you, and we welcome you. The director of Chike Okoli Center for Entrepreneurial Studies is also here, Professor Ada Omeni. We welcome you. We have in our midst Professor Alex Asibo, the Director of General Studies. We salute you. We welcome you. The former Resident Electoral Commissioner for Imo State is also here with us, Professor Emeka Ezono. I salute you. And we also have Professor Okibo. He is also here and is a great friend. You know, we welcome you, sir. Please let us appreciate him. What is it? Professor Dolly Adima is also here, the Director, Center for Sustainable Development. We salute you. Permit me to welcome in a special way the Vice Chancellor of Peter University, our own dear Professor, Reverend Father Professor Emmanuel Umezingwa. I salute you. I also have immediate past Dean of Faculty of Agriculture, Professor Nkiru Melodo. We thank you. The director of Unizik FM is also here, Professor Ifoma Dunu. And then a professor of laws is also there, Professor Felicia Anyogu. I salute you. I can also see Professor Nkechi Okpalobi is also here with us. Please may we appreciate her. You are welcome. We have Professor Anthony Nwokoye. Prof, we salute you, we welcome you. And beside him is Professor Josephat Obuagu, the immediate Provost, Federal College of Education Technical Umunze. We salute you. Professor Gochukwu Ibeneme is also here. We salute you, Prof. We also have Professor Mike Odi. We salute you, sir. We welcome you, our director. And also Professor Emenike Obi is also here, former SA to the Executive Governor of Anambra State. We salute you. The former Vice Chancellor of Enugu State University is also here, Professor Luke Anike. We welcome you. No. Na ibe do ka we go my rebel. Let's can name. We also have in no particular order at this time, please. Professor Peter Ezia is also here. We salute you. We also have in our midst Professor Uche Ajato. I salute you. Professor Bentina Matthias is also here. I salute you. Professor Neka Oli, you are welcome. Professor Ezima Nabife, my teacher, my lecturer, and of course, a member of the University Governing Council. Please let us appreciate her in a special way, because she's my teacher. We welcome you. Professor Ifeyinwa Nkemdili is also here. We welcome you. We have Professor Ken Obi. Prof, we welcome you. Professor Allen Adum, we welcome you. Professor Patrick Adigwe. Sorry, we welcome you. No. Professor BSc Obiefuna. I say no. Reverend Father Professor BSc Obiefuna. We welcome you. No. Madikali, please, I don't know if I'm jumping any professor here. Please, we also have Professor Uche Ebeze. We salute you. We also have Professor Steve Ufaro. We welcome you. Please, if we have others, please, let us have the list. Please. Professor Abanus is also here. In short, he came before every other person. Sorry, we welcome. No. Please, may somebody assist us with more names so that we can salute. Professor Nkechi Esimono is also here. Please let us appreciate her, former Dean of the Faculty of Education. We salute you. I'm just struggling to recognize the faces. So we salute you. We recognize and welcome all our directors here present, the heads of department, and in a special way, the members of the Faculty of Social Sciences. Please, may we appreciate us more now. And in particular, the Special Department of Sociology. May we also welcome our online audience. They are here in their hundreds and thousands. This afternoon they have already joined and they are watching us and smiling. So we appreciate them. Permit me also to welcome in a special way Chief Ken Ekwenugo. Chief Ken Ekwenugo is a great friend of the university and the leader in our community. We welcome you, sir. Beside him is our Chief Fred Chimoba, the chairman of Oka Committee of Friends at home and in diaspora. We used to call him Alufu America. Alufu, we welcome you all the way from Uatago. I say again now. The CSO of our great university is also here, Chief Ken Chukura. We welcome you. And I just saw Professor Ken Mogu, the man that taught us this business in a special way. I salute you and we welcome you, sir. You are welcome. So we welcome all of us, please. More recognitions will be ongoing. So without wasting much of our time, may I also inform you that my name is Professor Frank Collins Okafo. The Dean Faculty of Social Sciences. Thank you. And the University Orator for that matter. You know, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Mr. Chairman, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and privilege to present and call to the high table, to the special table, today the man that will be presenting the 98th inaugural lecture of Nnamdi Azikiwe University. He will be properly introduced at the right time, but permit me to introduce in a special way the 98th inaugural lecturer of our great university, Professor He is Professor Nkemdili AU Nonyelu Oka. And to come up with him is his beautiful wife, Kiru Nonyelu. Lady Kiru Nonyelu is a deputy registrar and faculty admin officer, Faculty of Management Sciences, Nnamdi Azikiwe University. Okay. Because Kosien had another reason. Thank you. Thank you. We now move on with the inaugural lecture proper. And on this note, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chairman, sir, it is my honor and privilege to invite the chairman on today's event, and to the glory of God, the sixth substantive Vice Chancellor of Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Professor Charles Okechukwu Esimone, Fellow Academy of Science, ably represented today by Professor Ufele, Angela Ufele, the Director, Academic Planning, Nnamdi Azikiwe University, to please come forward for the chairman's opening remarks and, of course, to declare the 98th inaugural lecture open. Vice Chancellor.
Thank you, University Orator. Good afternoon, everybody. I welcome all the professors, the directors, the deans, the HODs, and our visitors to Nnamdi Azikiwe University 98th inaugural lecture. We are very sorry for starting behind the schedule. I welcome all of you to this great event. Of course, today we are going to listen to Professor of Sociology, who will learn how to socialize. Today it will happen. So let us sit back and listen and enjoy the lecture. On behalf of Professor Charles Okechukwu Esimone, the Vice Chancellor of Nnamdi Azikiwe University, and on behalf of the University Senate, I hereby declare the 98th inaugural lecture open.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vice Chancellor, ably represented by Professor Angela Ufele, the Director, Academic Planning, Nnamdi Azikiwe University. We salute you, we appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for that short remarks. Mr. Chairman, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, kindly grant me the grace to also welcome the immediate past chair of our own dear ASU, Professor Steve Ufaro. I salute you. I welcome you. No. I may also welcome Professor Cornelius Ukwueze, the head of Department of Mass Communication, Professor Theodora Onuko, my French teacher at Igwebike Grammar School. I welcome you. Professor Clementina Abuonu is also here. We are now at the right time when the Jele masquerade will display. And for the Jele to display, there must be a like us. Today, we want to have another young, resourceful fellow, a member of our faculty.
Of our great university. Members of the University Governing Council, members of the university management, members of the university community, the professors, our host community, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. This is a very brief citation of His Excellency Professor Nkemdili A.U. Nonyelu, the District Governor-elect of Rotary International District 9142, and the Pro-Chancellor of Peter University, One and Chinanambra States. With your permission, Mr. Vice Chancellor of this greatest university of the moment, Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Awka, I most respectfully, with every sense of humility, responsibility, and monumental pleasure, invite a colossus of industrial relations, a legendary scholar, chairman, committee on naming of streets, roads.
Already well-established protocol by the university orator. And I will also want to crave your indulgence to please stand. Not like my friend did 2 days ago. I'm going to talk about that. I'm not asking for any prayers, 1 minute prayers, but I'm asking you to stand because of what we have come to do today. And I will, with the audacity of today, call on my friend, Arinza Wanusi, as my friend, also the leader of this country, did in Chatham House. I'm going to share responsibilities today. I'm going to share responsibility. I'll ask my friend, Arinza, to please lead us in the solidarity song. That's the first thing for us to say today.
Let's go. When the union's inspiration through the work of blood shall run, there can be no power greater anywhere beneath the sun. Yet what force on earth is weaker than the feeble strength of one? But the union makes us strong. Soli, soli, soli. Solidarity forever. Soli, soli. Solidarity forever. So. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. They have taken unto billions that they never thought to end. But without a brain and muscle or a single way to tell, we can break their healthy power, gain our freedom when we learn that our union makes us strong. Soli, soli, soli. Solidarity forever. Soli, soli. Solidarity forever. So. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. It is we who plough the prairies, built the cities where they trade, dug their mines and built the workshops, endless miles of railroad led. Now we stand up, cast and still miss the wonders we have met. But the union makes us strong. Soli, soli, soli. Solidarity forever. Soli, soli. Solidarity forever. So. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. In our hands is placed the power greater than the 100 gold, greater than the might of armies magnified 1,000-fold. We can bring to birth a new world from the ashes of the old. For the union makes us strong. Soli, soli, soli. Solidarity forever. Soli, soli. Solidarity forever. So. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. Isoleto. In Africa. Aluta continua.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. This is how to start an inaugural that the topic of the inaugural is about our union. From classroom, teachers, researchers, to what? Union activists. The predicament of academics in Nigerian public universities. Mr. Vice Chancellor, today I am on the hot seat. I'm on the hot seat. I did not know that there's going to be any time that I walk into the auditorium and people will gather just to listen to me, even though that I hear from friends, senators in this university. Now, whenever I miss a Senate meeting, they will say that my absence was very conspicuous. But today I come in measured steps. I came to do what I'm told is in the tradition of our university. For a new professor, newly elevated professor, to mount the rostrum to present what is called an inaugural. I am not a linguist, but I know that by the definition of inaugural, it means the commencement of one's professorship. That's what I'm told. And it is a lifelong experience. The summit, the peak of your professorship. That is what a professor is, or who a professor should be. That is zenith of academic achievement in the university. So for an inaugural, it must be a very sweet experience, a time that we usually say should come with all my celebration. That's what an inaugural should be. It is like the orator said, the unveiling of what? And the Ijele masquerade. But if the Ijele or whatever he is or she is been in the village square for quite some time, I don't know what you unveil. I don't know what you unveil. But it is an opportunity for the inaugural presenter, the lecturer, to trace what I call the trajectory, the intellectual or academic odyssey, or the preparation of that lecture, from beginning till where he is. An opportunity for you to express the profundity of your thoughts, the clarity of your thoughts, what you've done, and what also should constitute your beliefs, your practices, your orientations, your character. All of them should be on display. Because for me, personally, character is also very important. When you talk about achievement in academics, it must be there. So today, an inaugural should be a celebration of sorts. Yes, that's what it should be. And recently it's been turned into some kind of feast making. That when you come to an inaugural, you see lots and lots of celebration. That's what it should be. Ordinarily, that's what it should be. A time to show gratitude to your college of mentors. And there are so many that you begin to, ruminate and reminisce, you remember them. So many of them that you would remember from childhood, both in the academic world and outside. And also, your mentees would want to see you because they must have they must have taken a lot from your intellectual prowess, what we call drinking from your fountain of knowledge. So it's a conjuncture of two worlds, certainly a conjuncture. One, the college of mentors on one side, the eulogies from the mentees, where they romanticize and glamorize you for what you've done. Today, however, my dear friends, I am going to differ. I'm going to come short of those expectations, and intentionally so. I told those who came close to me before this. I also told my very good friend, the Vice Chancellor. I also told some other friend professors here that are close to me that today I will not be inviting people to Oka. That I will allow this to be what they find in the post within the university. And I want to use this opportunity to thank you for taking that invitation from the Vice Chancellor. In other words, what it means is that at the end of this ceremony, if there is food to eat, the person who invited you is the VC. You go to him to take some food.
And the inaugural lecture committee too.
And the inaugural lecture committee. I'm also told that my department wanted to do something like that. Because I said I wasn't going to do any of that. And what I will do is to excite us, for us to talk about where we are today as university academics. So that's the essence of my presentation. Only. And at the end of the day, we can just take it from there. My dear friends, Mr. Vice Chancellor, not only because it's been quite some time that my professorship came on board, that may be it, but primarily, today's event is tamed down because of what we have seen. In terms of the presentation, the nature of the society today, 133 million Nigerians are in multi-dimensional poverty. 133 million. You can imagine what it means. And I am told too, I've been told even 20 years ago, that our take-home pay cannot take us home. And I also remember that 8 months last year, we are still being owed our what? Salaries. We have not been paid. So because of these conspiracy of factors, combination of factors, and then lastly, the demographic factor, age. I'm no longer a young person. If you watch my gray hair, you notice that I'm no longer young. It's not the usual zest, gusto, whatever that you find in AU that you find these days. I'm quite, coming down. So because of that, I said that today's inaugural should be a very quiet one. And I plead for your understanding that that is in keeping with the new mood of the country. And more so, the inaugural committee did something that was not very palatable. I must complain, because I begged and begged that I will be given the latitude to present my inaugural on Tuesday. On Tuesday, I wrote a letter to that effect. They said it is impossible to do that inaugural on Tuesday. And you know me, I'm a man under authority. Whenever they speak, I lie low. So I said, well, if that's the university tradition, let me go to Thursday, because 2 days ago I turned 61. So I thought they were going to allow me that privilege to celebrate my birthday. So all that I would have brought today for stomach infrastructure, all of them ended on Tuesday. I'm sure Mika is on, he will bear me witness. Yeah. Then, having said that, and with your permission, let me, before we go into the lecture program, just briefly go through my early childhood years for those who are not well informed about where we are coming from. I thank Dr. Tutu Ogwebe. By the way, the Vice President of NASA is here, Professor Agnes Njoku. She came from, and the fellow of NASA, from Imo State University. And the immediate past Vice President, Chemeko Onyema, is also here. So I want to welcome them officially. Apart from other friends that are here, because I'm also, that is my association. And I just handed over after 5 years as national president. My My childhood years, my dear friends, evidently, you know, when you see me, you know I wasn't born with any golden spoon. Not even a silver or bronze spoon. Not any of them. You know, born in somewhere here around Oka. Oh, inside Oka. Inside Umuzocha. Yes. To a polygamous home. No, you more as a Waka Lando family. As the last in a polygamous home. And nothing in view of the immensity of scarcity in those days, you know, will give you any cause to celebrate. I'm sure T.A. Davis and the others will be waiting to hear this. But the main reason was actually, if you were born very, you know, just before the Civil War, like some of us, 62 to 66, 67, and as a toddler, you were faced with an experience that you can't even talk about. When I see internally displaced persons today, I just remember what happened in those days. People like Harrison will know what I'm talking about. Anybody after 70 will know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I am not young. I was not young.
In any case, the war was just something else. And you know, because of Oka, the strategic nature of Oka, it was a place that the federal soldiers wanted to capture immediately. And they went in there. The language was Hausa Batoka. And so we fled with my eldest brother. In fact, my eldest brother is in his late 80s. He should have been here today. He was the secretary to the vice chancellors, 4 successive vice chancellors at University of Nigeria and Nsukka, before he became the personnel officer. He was the person taking us from Oka to Ekuno until we finally landed in Umuowa, and that was where we settled. But one thing that is striking about my experience, childhood experience, is something that happened during the war, which I still remember. We were 2 of us, myself and my very good friend, another friend of mine, who just retired from the bank. We went for, what do they call it? Palm North, whatever searching. Yes, as we were moving around, we heard a loud noise, very loud. And it was the bombing of the quarters, the camp, where we were, the entire family, and all of that. However, 2 infants running in the bush. What we now saw looking up was an airplane fighting us from on top of the tree, firing on us. We were just lucky. I thought it was a dream or a nightmare. I didn't see my friend until after 25, 30 years after the war. And immediately we saw ourselves, the first thing we remembered was that experience. That told me that, so this thing was real. You can imagine the cruelty of the Nigerian Federal Armed Forces in those days. Side by side, that cruelty. You saw the intervention of the Caritas, the Red Cross, when they were supplying us with all the things we needed to make us survive and to be free from what? Kwashiorkor. The young persons wouldn't know about this, but it was something serious. So that angelic intervention was very good. Immediately after the war, we left, thanks to my eldest brother, to Nsukka. And I must say, my dear friends, that was a paradigm shift. Because I'm told that even, not that I'm told, you can imagine a developed village like Oka, and you can imagine in my village I'm still the only professor. So perhaps, if I didn't make that move, I would have been somewhere with my ogene and all of that. Perhaps. You can't talk about privilege. Perhaps. I went into university primary school. That was where my first real experience of formal education. Because everything we did during the war was not real experience. You can't talk about it seriously. But we didn't last. I didn't last there. Because of the exigencies of the post-war effect, I had to move immediately over to urban primary school in Nsukka. And from urban primary school, I took my common entrance, went to government secondary school, Afikpo, which was then an Ivy League college. Fear God. Yes, I'm sure when you is here. Where is okay? Is there any other? Who said I heard Honor the King from there? Another person from Afikpo. Okay. Romeo is here. So that's our motto. Discipline, very, very, very interesting school. One of the best schools anybody can dream of. In fact, because of that experience in government college Afikpo, my ambition in life is to have a college, and that I've not been able to do because of scarcity of resources. I wanted to replicate my experience in government college Afikpo. One other funny and not funny experience, you remember it with a lot of gratitude to God. In 1978, when I was going back to government college from Nsukka, where we were living, after moving from Nsukka to Enugu to Okigwe to Afikpo, station wagon, as it's called, we had a head-on collision with an MCC loaded with travel. And you know what happened. Ghastly fatal, except for me. Every other person in that vehicle died. Telling you. So when I remember this, I said, there must be a reason that God kept you alive. And from there, I moved to University of Nigeria, the den of lions and lionesses. Great lions! Great lions! Everybody's dwarfed by an hashtag here. By any right? They are all dwarfed. Are the giants here? The guest speaker. I remember here, if some of you must have remembered this, that I gave the citation, and my greatest pleasure was the embrace I got from Nkemdili. Why was I attracted to Nkemdili? Because of his revolutionary, rebellious ideas that said no to the establishment and what the establishment stood in oppressing the rest of us. Nkemdili's spirit, he wasn't even there. He left his department, but his ideas were still resonating. We are still there at the university. You can't talk about it in Nsukka without Nkemdili. In fact, if you have your inaugural lecture series, the first person that had the audacity to step out and present his inaugural was Nkemdili. That tells you firebrand scholar. So for us, or for me particularly, I had that, and then Inaugural, not to talk about, Okudi Bandole and the others from, Azoka Dike, Kejuba and the others. So I had so many of them at Damere who actually, impacted me. So for me, it was a world that gave me all the confidence, self-assurance that I need because of sociology. The DAP had very little, with due respect, very little understanding of what said to socialize. We don't, that's not the essence of sociology. That's not what sociologists do. Because beyond understanding human, when sociology came into being, at its inception, it was because of the chaotic nature of society, following the Industrial Revolution, following so many of the democratic revolutions in so many places, and other political revolutions in France and America, and the inadequacy of philosophical religious theories to unravel what was happening in society. That gave birth to sociology. To begin to understand the nature of religion, the behavior of man, the interconnection between society, the social structures and social processes. That's how sociology came into being. So, although the slant there is the scientific dimension of sociology. That has not reduced the contestation today, whether there is a value-free sociology or whether sociology is all about science, employing it to explain, to unravel, to unpack, to understand man in society in his socio-cultural context. But that's how I came into. While that was happening, the emphasis was on order, social order. That was the emphasis, social solidarity. However, somebody, Marx, one of the founders, one of the ancestors, and then particularly also Ralph Dahrendorf, in 1958, said something that also gave a lot of meaning. When he said, out of utopia towards the reorientation of sociological analysis. In other words, that sociology should leave its, attempt or efforts to encircle around harmony, peace, stability. That these are not even the face of society. That there is another contrasting face. That was why he said, out of utopia. That talking about a conflict-free society is an utopia. And for me, it also helped in my presentation, in my, in my sociological journey. Because for me, as a conflict theorist, I believe in the primacy of conflict. I believe in the ubiquity of conflict. I believe in the pervasive nature of conflict. I believe that you cannot even discuss the world without that other side of conflict. So for me, I took that as a point of departure. Having said this, it's also important to talk about the scope of sociology. The scope is quite diverse. I think that it's even high time that those in the National University Commission will start thinking about doing what they are doing to some other very smaller departments, to sociology. We need to be a faculty, actually. And even without our saying so, even without our making any effort, criminology has moved. Professor Onyozi, who is from Maryland here, he will tell you that they've moved. Industrial relations also moved, even though they will say industrial relations came from economics and the others. That's what they will say. Or labor economics. Or medical sociology, sociology of law, sociology of mass communication, you find all of that, planning and all of that. However, from my master's, after my master's, and my interest in the academic life, the only interview, the only advert in my life that I saw and went for was the advert in those days, Anambra State University of Science and Technology in Enugu with a master's degree. And I went there, and after the interview, properly conducted interview, the only difference was when I came in, with my certificate. All the others I saw had Ghana must go. I was wondering what the Ghana must go was all about. I didn't know that once you're in the university, your property is measured by the what? Tons of books you have. I thought that is, So when I saw them coming for the interview, I said, what? Who are they? I said, those are the professors that are coming for a professorial interview. That was how I joined Nnamdi Azikiwe University, then Asotec, and started life as an assistant lecturer with 500 and something naira. Then every month, 6,000 something naira per annum. 500 and what? Yes, that's what it is. And 6,000 naira a year. And immediately we came in, I thought that it is time for us to enjoy. It was a bittersweet experience. No enjoyment. Because immediately we landed, the first few months, it was ASU meeting. ASU meeting. I looked around and said, what is that? Which one is ASU meeting again? They said ASU meeting for us to discuss the strike that was coming on. I said, this will be our baptism of what? Fire. And it has been the undercurrents of conflict and crisis since then. Mr. Vice Chancellor, my presentation will go this way. I will look at the university, the premises. I have to look at some keys. The premises unveiled with the university. What is the university? I will also look at promises, if you like, or pretenses. I will also look at protests. I will also look at prospects. So I need to take them in that order while navigating, speaking to the paper. Eventually, we're going to have the book, and then it's also going to be available online. That's the assurance that Professor Richard, who is unavoidably absent, told me, and I have his, to do this. So the immortal words of John Henry Newman is my point of departure in looking at what the university is. What is a university? It's a place where people come from every quarter of the globe, for every kind of knowledge. Every kind of knowledge. It didn't say medicine, it didn't say law. Every kind of knowledge. A place for the communication and circulation of thought by means of intellectual fertilization of ideas. It is a place for which 1,000 schools, 1,000 schools, in other words, uncountable. So many schools make contributions, in which the intellect will safely blossom and range and speculate the way it wants, not to be, hounded or stopped. It is a place where inquiry is pushed forward, discoveries verified and perfected, errors exposed, the coalition of mind with mind, knowledge with knowledge, mutual education, one of the great and incessant occupations of human from one generation to other. John Henry Newman. Before him, William von Humboldt talked about some basic characteristics that will classify a university. And these include unity of teaching and research. Academics should have unrestrained liberty. What? Unrestrained liberty to espouse their ideals, their beliefs and convictions. The university premises are to be insulated from government control. 1820 are to be what? Insulated from government control. You now know what is happening now. Because of that, you have massification of the university. Universities blossom everywhere. That somebody started talking about no longer university, but multiversity. Because of the divergence of disciplines, multiplicity of disciplines. It's no longer university, even though university epistemologically came from totality or whole. But somebody also directed that, redirected it to talk about multiversity. And that was Lambert. Universities, for me, center of learning, that's what it is all over, throughout the ages. That's what universities stand to do. A meeting ground for diverse people, different scholars, different orientations, different disciplines, to exchange, espouse their ideas. That's what a university is. Knowledge production. That's what a university is. Dissemination, where the search for knowledge, the search for the truth, is an obligation. It is a compelling duty. That's what a university is all about. Universities, ordinarily, it is immanent in a university to throw light, to shed light, not to bring out darkness. That's not what universities, they are not dens or harbingers of darkness, as I said here. So as citadels of learning, you have some major expectations that universities should convey or embody or carry. You have education. That's very important. You have research. You have critical thinking. You have community engagement with town and gown. You have innovation, you have discovery, you have entrepreneurship. You have academic freedom. And once you talk about academic freedom, I nod my head. I think it's key to what we do in the university. So it is important that we understand that university will deal with it, like I have said before, with the universality of knowledge. That's what it deals with in their different manifestations. How did the universities arise? Which one is the first university? Somebody before the one that is touted as University of Bologna. Before the one that is touted as University of Bologna. That's what you find in Western literature, Oxford, Cambridge, and that and that. But the first universities in Africa. Although these days you can even Google it and you see, before we get to University of Ibadan and Soka and the other ones, the first league of universities. How many universities do we have today in Nigeria? 247. 200 and what? 262 universities, sorry, 262. And we are still counting. As at October. I'm sure the Native Vice Chancellor Academic will. This one is very well known. As at October, yes. From NUC, they said we have 52 federal universities, 52, 63 state universities, and 147 private universities. With the National University Commission established in 1962 as a regulator, as a monitor of standards, as an enforcer in chief of what we do in the universities. NUC. And even exceeded their bounds that today we're talking about. I'll still get to that. But that we're talking about, I'm sure the DVC may not like this, or DAP, about the core curriculum. I'm sure they won't like this. The core curriculum that got all senators, professors running, helter-skelter. What is the state of Nigerian public universities? I think we need to go back a little in time to what the universities were. I won't say that I saw it, very well. But I'm sure in 1980, when I went to University of Nigeria in Soka, it was something else. Not what we have today. And I'll tell you why. In fact, the cafeteria, Eboref, the menu, there was good. Their breakfast was something else. You think it's an international standard. Our hostels, I live in Mbanefo from there to Ajamachuku. We have cleaners changing our beds and supplying us with exactly cleaning our toilets, changing your beds every day. So you can talk about students working like princes and princesses, like kings. In those days, the laboratories were there, the libraries were there. In fact, you can bury yourself in the library. Bury yourself there because the books were there. You don't have any excuse. The hostels were there for the students. I can't think of many people living outside campus in those days. All of these were provided. That was what it was in those days. What do we have now? What do we have? The Nigerian Public University, in my view, has degenerated from research, from what we have seen. That serene, nostalgic past has changed. You can't find it again in current universities. I know that in Nnamdi Azikiwe University, everything is still working very well, thanks to our Vice Chancellor. Yes, I'm sure. So when we talk about deterioration, we are not talking about universities of the first, that is still first. We're talking about the others, not Nnamdi Azikiwe University. Essential facilities are colossally absent, woefully absent. Students defecating in places you don't want to mention, even female students. That's the truth. In universities, and sometimes in open spaces, watching helplessly. Students, leaders were harassed and harassed. That many of them gave way. They started moving into something else because of their rebellious nature. Those who had any iota of resistance, any blood of resistance, now moved into cultism. That's how you saw the proliferation of cults when they had to go underground. So the tanking of the university system is not an isolated occurrence. We need to put it in context. Because when you talk about the generation of universities, you need to put it in context. It's about the Nigerian situation. It's about the Nigerian situation. The way and manner our leaders have led us from 1960 through military interregnum, and then currently. That is the problem. So it is that problem, it is that within that context, what type of governance have we seen? What is the situation in terms of statistics? What is this, a nation that is so endowed with immense material and human resources is now a nation that is so poor, named the poverty capital of the world. Look at the indices coming from even Nigerian National Bureau of Statistics, 2022-2023, about what is happening in terms of poverty and unemployment. Don't bother with the rebased statistics, what I call voodoo economics, where they try to turn things around to give an impression, just to help the government to move forward, that things, may be moving in the right direction. But like I said, Achebe said, our problem is that of leadership. We have not been able to do what we should do. The neoliberal, World Bank, IMF policies, they've all failed. Deregulation has failed. In fact, in 1986, even before the Babangida government started structural adjustment program, there was this debate whether the SAP will go on or not. After the debate, it was obvious that the consensus was no to some of the policies that the government was being asked to give. But still, the dictatorial government of Babangida still imposed on. 37 years after, where are we today? What is happening to our national currency? How much is the naira worth today? You can imagine where we are. The calisthenics, the somersaulting of economic policies over the years, we have not been able to come out of it. And Nigeria appears to be in some kind of convulsion. That's what is happening to us. The country is moving from bad to worse. If you call us a failed state, you may not be wrong. It's true that the characteristics of a failed state may not be totally present, but of a weak state, of a fragile state, of a failing state, those characteristics are here. And for me, it is important that you cannot isolate, you cannot remove what is happening in the university system from the precarious nature, from the failing, fragile nature of the national environment. You need to put them together. And so that is our point of contention. We are looking at what is happening at the university system, from the tanking of Nigeria as a society, from the failure of government at all levels. It is within this environment of the criminalization of states, the state capture, that even Antonio Gramsci had called the cultural hegemony. That's where we are. Where the culture, the values, all of these have been fully dominated, controlled by the ruling elite. But that is what even Karl Marx told us many years ago. The ideas of the ruling class of any society are the ideas of what? The ruling class. That's the truth. So that's where we are. And it is within that, fragility, that context, that problem of the Nigerian national environment that universities are located. You can't expect much from, you cannot start addressing university problems without looking at the Nigerian problem. You need to look at it. It's important. Is it time? I wonder. Hold on to my business. Can you see my predicament? This is the meat. This is the meat of why we are here. Role transition from researchers and academics to activists. Predicaments of Nigerian intellectuals. Industrial relations in Nigerian public universities. This is the meat of why we are here. Industrial relations is a unique field of study, not separated from industrial sociology. Two of them are very close. Two of them are very close. In fact, my thinking, and I say this with a sense of authority, that one came from the other. Industrial sociology gave birth to industrial relations. I'm sure Ken will agree, but that is correct. So, without going into industrial sociology, I just want us to look at the fine points of industrial relations. When it arrived, And what happened? The colossal labor problems, colossal global problems, following industrial revolution, was at the center of the birth of industrial relations. Because then it was like a transition from a feudal society to a new world of work, with new structures, new institutions, new processes. A lot of anxieties happening that people in those days could not even understand how to deal with the crisis of the problem. They couldn't. They couldn't understand. So what happened? It needed a new study, a new area of focus that will unravel issues around the world of work. You had absenteeism, you had people, behaving, people not getting used to what was happening then. You had all manner of work problems. You had drudgery, you had, resistance, one form or the other. And so a body of knowledge, codified body of knowledge, a new area that will be able to unpack these manifestations had to come in. And that was how industrial relations developed.
Very important.
You know what I'm going to say? This is the tradition of unity. Why do we have to do this tradition? Acculturation. You see what we talk about university culture? It's very good. I'm not sure they do this in other places. In fact, some people came here to see how my wife will give me water. Only that. That's why they came. You can imagine. This thing in the world wrong. What is important is what has happened. So the industrial relations, we will not forget the founders of industrial relations, where we have now stepped in, as proponents, as disciples, as people espousing industrial relations. Starting from Sydney Webb's, John Dunlop's, Commons, all of them, to Fasana, Ubeku, like Otobo, and then before you get to Noyelu and the others. And welcome. So most of them believed that the problem of the central kernel of industrial is the centrality of rules. That's what they believed. The meat of industry is the rules in workplaces. And that for me is where the lawyers come. But for me it's much more than the rules. You talk about practices. You talk about conventions. You talk about orientations that are different from those rules. So it's not necessarily the rules that will shape industrial relations. Rules will be part of it. But practices that humanize the rules, that professionalize, that democratize what is happening, particularly the labor market processes, all of these are important. So when they are absent, that means you have a troubled industrial relations. But our interest today, my dear friends, is not even the global industrial relations. That's not why we are here. That will give us an idea of what we are. But we need to come home. The arrival of Academic Staff Union of Universities, also in 1978, was a change maker. It was a paradigm shift in the nature of industrial relations. Coming after the birth, or death, or burial of the Nigerian Association of University Teachers. But that was the first one. Very similar to Civil Service Union formed in 1912. In cahoots with, establishment, they didn't want to shake anybody, they were quite, happy. That was the National Association of University Teachers in those days. Until something happened. And they tried to raise their voice. The government came hard on them. Sacked so many lecturers from the University of Ibadan in 1972 and other places for daring to challenge, to engage the government in the conditions of service that was even within their rights constitutionally, internationally, everywhere. The terms, the practices, the treaties we all signed. Within it, they were all sacked. And when that happened, and with the flowering of radical intellectualism, the Marxists gained inroad into the new union that was formed, and also came on board. Radical, like I said, with Marxist orientation. What are the reasons for founding of ASU? What are those reasons? What reasons gave birth to ASU? To take the erosion of academic freedom, academic values, and university tradition. That was why it was formed. To stop the militarization of the university system. You remember at one point in time, the federal government had the temerity to appoint solo administrators in the university. Professor J.D. Gomwork, and followed by give me what? Give me the Yes, at one point. So work for academic freedom and then for knowledge. ASU is a trade union. And my dear friends, what is a trade union? An association of workers formed for what? The defense, the propagation, the improvement of the working conditions, the regulation of the terms and conditions of the employment. That's what a trade union is. Although in Nigeria, some difference, I must say, is added to the definition of trade union in Nigeria. Because in the Nigerian Trade Union by Trade Union Act, there is an inclusion of the employer as part of trade unions. And that for me is very strange. Employer. Because employer cannot be there. They are not. But that's what the Nigerian Trade Union Act said when they included employers. And I said no, it shouldn't be. The Organization of Wage and Salary Earners formed for the purpose of what? Maintaining and improving the employment contract of their members. However, there is nothing in the definition of trade union that limits them to purely industrial questions. Nothing. So anybody that tells you that what you are doing, if the price of fuel rises or the value of the currency is divided, I said it's not within the confines, the territory of the university, that you shouldn't do anything. How does it concern you? You can't say so. Because all of these will have a way of rubbing off on your personality, your well-being, and your wellness, even of your family. So you need to be alert. The price. What is it that they say? Eternal what? Vigilance is the price they pay for what? For freedom. And I added something to it. I said, failure to do that is what? Servitude. Becomes your comeuppance. So you need to be alive. You need to be alert. ASU has 44,000 members. Or more. 44. And you know how they calculate it. Ofara is here. I'm sure he'll tell you that it's when you send people that they send their names who pay their check-up dues. They have 78 branches nationally, currently, 13 zones and all of that. And then the ASU principles, which I want us to please look at. Very important for what we're going to discuss. Integrity, transparency, and accountability. Very important. Professionalism, objectivity, and hard work. Courage, sacrifice, and total commitment. Internal democracy, teamwork, and working class solidarity. That's the principles that ASU, as a union, that's what propagating and that was founded on. That's what they respect. So anytime you're talking about your involvement in that, you have to look at this. And then for me, it's important that we understand that within the university system, there are different stakeholders. University lecturers are one. Yes, we know that they are one. The others are the other non-teaching staff. The students, very importantly too, you have to recognize them. And then beyond them, beyond these people, parents and all of them, you also have to recognize the external influence. That's why we have left tripartism or two-party labor employment relation. No, it's now multi-partism as a model. That's where we are. But I also want to say, my dear friends, that the university system in Nigeria, particularly for public universities, has so empowered the vice chancellor. The vice chancellor is very big, very, very big, larger than life. I'm not even the person saying this. We were all here we all hear when, what's his name? The Professor Olorode. Is it Olorode? Olorode. Because if it's Olorode, I will remember the Asoma. Like that, Olorode. Yes, Isaac. The one, the jam registrar. Jam convocation lecture. He was here. He said he has been everything in his life. But the biggest one is what? He said so. So when you see our Vice Chancellor with all his humility, respect him. Because I've heard ones that will not nearly throw us away. That's why Ismone is my very good friend. So the Vice Chancellor's position has made it such a way that we have cultivated nurtured psychophancy in our university system. People do all sorts of things. Without remembering their place as academics, as scholars, who should be ready and willing to challenge, speak truth to power, to turn the university, move the university forward. But because of the character of some of them, we know that those ones are the ones that we should celebrate. If not, the Vice Chancellor's powers, you will say, what is happening to the governing council? As another stakeholder, I've been in the governing council twice. I think with Emeka Ezon, we are the only two persons, who have been, fortunate to have been elected, not selected, into the governing council. Not selected. And I can tell you that the governing council is an extension of the office of the Vice Chancellor. That's the truth. If you think they can do anything, all those federal appointees that you see, they come here to do what? Yes, that's the truth. So any VC that want to mess up can mess up. That's the point I'm making. Particularly when you remember that the powers of the Vice Chancellor of the Governing Council have been vitiated, it's been reduced completely with the enactment of the Procurement Act. So the Governing Councils cannot even do anything. I don't mean, I'm sure he's here. Nkemdili is also here. They've been to council. They just go there to collect the allowance and go home. It's only me that will talk when I go there. You see why an inaugural is good? It's a professorial homily. No matter what I say, it's just like an objection like giving in homily. You don't ask questions. Yes. That's what it is. So whatever I say here, you go and that's the truth. So I have that liberty today, licentiousness. I can say anything I like. So outside that, we need to look at the state's involvement. Because for me, that is how to bring out the state. The state, the Nigerian state, not Anambra state, the Nigerian state is a major issue in industrial relations. The state is the single largest employer of labor, and we are talking about public universities. So the state is our employer. It's because of the weakness of the governing council that we don't bother fighting the governing council. We don't have any problem with the governing council. All our problems we direct them to the states. And therefore, it is important to understand outside the colonial mentality, how the state started, the colonial interventions, state interventions in industrial relations, and all of that. It's important to situate what is happening today as a carryover from that period. And that's where we are. That's why I sometimes when I see what the laws, with due respect to legal luminaries here, about the mediatory powers of the state. The Minister for Labor, Employment and Productivity, our friend Nkemdili, boasting that ASU has an issue with Ministry of Education, but not with them. That he is there as an arbiter and impartial, umpire, arbiter. To what extent can that's a fallacy? That's not true. The state is a culprit. The Nigerian state is a culprit. Is an interested party. Any agent of the state, whether it's the legislature, senate, or house of them, they are all on one side. That's the truth, except if you do not understand the state. Even when you look at the theories of the state, I had to look at one that talks about the liberal theory of the state. How the state is a neutral arbiter, treating everybody. It's not possible. The radical theory of the state explains this. The state is an executive committee, commonly spoken, an executive committee of the ruling class, interested in perpetuating and perpetuating the privileges of that class. That's what the state does. So the state is not interested in you as an actual person. It's not. But some of us get, deceived and think that we are dealing with the Ministry of Labor and we allow those laws to do. Or we are dealing with the National Industrial Court. These are the same. They are the same. Public universities in Nigeria are strike belts. You can imagine the background, the context that we have created. You can imagine what would have happened. What would have happened if not because of Academic Staff Union of Universities? You can imagine what would have happened. You can look around Nigerian university system today. Even in state universities, some of them shy away from discussing strikes. My friend, Professor Luke Anike, former Vice Chancellor, issued. So, as he stepped out, and then Professor Greg Nwakobi, University. I had, in fact, time to go through University. They have more projects, more test fund projects than Nkemdili University. That's the truth. If you go to Imo State University, where Ernest Njoku and where they come from, they have more test fund projects. In fact, all the buildings, we just held our conference in Kefi. All the buildings, 90% of the buildings in Nasarawa State University, Kefi, test fund and NEET. How did test fund come about? How did it come about? ASU struggle. Because you can't forget, it was the package given by the government when they expressed their cluelessness about how to handle the tanking of the university system. ASU said, we have a solution to this. And they came up with the test fund suggestions. Initially, they thought it was going to be for all education, but they said, no, tertiary education trust fund. And that's what has been rescuing universities. Without it, it would have been terrible. So you cannot talk about public universities in Nigeria without seeing it as a strike belt. And you see it as a strike belt because of the resistance, because of the commitment, because of the sacrifice of Academic Staff Union of Universities. It's that sacrifice that we are seeing today. How we are still able to be here, having people now applying to come to our university. In fact, in those days, and that's why when I see my wife, I thank her very well. Because and your own. For you to marry, for them to agree to marry you, a lecturer. I say it in ASU meetings. I've said so often. Now we see young lecturer 2 on our jeep. And I look at them and say, look at this one. You think this is where we came from? This is not where we're coming from. And you see them, with a bragging right. The history of academics, the life story of an academic is that of a tortuous journey. That's the truth. Mike, why are you showing me time?
Yes,
I thought you showed it my day.
No, yeah.
That's the life story of academics. Okay, you want me also? Oh, when you guys phone car, I'm on a few years. We may say by picture. Strike is the language of the employee. In industrial relations, in the workplace, the employer is somewhere. The employer is somewhere. The employee is where? Down. Down. The person who owns for capital. The dominance of capital over labor has been there. The commodification of labor is a different experience altogether. You can sell any other thing that you have But labor commodified, you are selling your total person. That's the difference. So whether you talk about creating your physical, your soul, your blood, flesh and blood, you're selling it. That's what it means when you talk about the uniqueness of industrial relations. Labor that is sold is not labor power as labor power. It is your totality that you're selling. And that's why we need to look at it from that perspective. That's why we need to protect. So, in other words, the strike has happened and happened. Mike, please allow me now. Please.
Yes.
I've not said anything.
Sorry, sir.
No, I can't conclude when I've not started. The strike, when we talk about industrial conflict, we know that we're talking about so many things. But for me, I have chosen to look at strike only as the greatest manifestation of that conflict. It's not as if, in fact, generally speaking, in the world of industrial, there are so many manifestations of conflict. Even what you find in private universities, where the lecturer can just walk into the class and leave the students more confused than they met them, and say there's peace there. There's no peace. Industrial conflict is ubiquitous. It comes from different grievances, from complaints. That's why you have work, you have absenteeism, you have complaints of all sorts. But strike is the most noticeable. It's not that it's the only form of complaint. So I've used strike in our presentation because of what ASU is going through. Usually, ASU should know that strike is the last weapon. But because that is the only language that the employer understands, and the employer is the state, that is why now and then you find ASU using it. What are those strike triggers in the Nigerian university system? What are those strike triggers? I've looked at them in my research and in my writings. Funding for revitalization of public universities, conditions of service, university autonomy and academic freedom, payment of earned academic allowance, implementation of the 2012 NIST assessment report, restatement of sacked academic staff, pension matters, payment structure, victimization of academics, inter-union rivalry. These are the main issues. But there is one that just yesterday we were told that the federal government, they now see reason that they've removed. I don't know what the non-teaching staff, with great respect to my wife and colleagues, when they wait for us to go on strike, they presented their, what do they call their own? 3 words. 3 words? They said that our OTAS was not their issue. I didn't know how they gave me a number because I didn't sign anything. And most of us in this university did not sign anything with us. But they railroaded us into that, and we've been there. And because of these issues, the funding has been abysmal. Funding is terrible. There's no funding. My statistics shows that 6%, 8% to education is a joke. UNESCO said 26%. 6, 8, less than 10. In fact, there is no year except one. And then you find out that that has been a continuous thing. And then university autonomy has been eroded completely. Even now, the Deputy Vice Chancellor just came back from Abuja to do what? Budget. To defend budget. To do all that. That's what they do. The VC will go to Abuja by a secular. You can imagine a whole vice chancellor, the worst student of the university. Now somebody is calling, the director is calling to come to Abuja. Because of loss of academic freedom, autonomy, university autonomy. That's what we've lost. And then all the other issues here, we have said so. For me, the response about all of these, from 1992 strike to 1996, when I was called in this place, this building here, the then seat of the Vice Chancellor, to appear before the panel of the university panel, for staying put, not agreeing to sign the register. In 1996, 1 week after my wedding, I was here and I appeared in that panel. From then onwards to 2013, different strikes until 2013, we were sleeping in this university, enjoying ourselves. We were all doing what? Sleeping. Some people, I'm sure, will say that it's even better than we sleep. But what are we getting now? Emoji, I'm sure, will say that. He doesn't like strike at all. Some people will say that, you know. But the truth is that if you look at what we have gained, you see the need for the strikes. Why it's not been something, you know, that anybody should castigate. That's the only option. That's the only weapon we have. And so for me, it's important we locate that participation of academics and we place it on the pedestal of solidarity. It is because of solidarity that we've been able to surmount the shenanigans, the attempt to intimidate university workers, to impoverish them, to pauperize them. It is because of solidarity. That collective empathy, that feeling of togetherness of a spirit de corps, that word that Duncan called the conscience collective, a system of sentiments and beliefs that are prevalent in any group. It's because of the word solidarity. And that's why I think we need to sing that song, if you permit. Let's just sing that song again. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. I'll switch and sing, so I'm sure you know. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. And on back 3 months. 93, 94, 6 months. 1995, 5 months. 1996, 7 months. 1998, 5 months. 1999, 5 months. 5 months. 2001, 2 months. 6 months. 2003, 4. We lost the whole year. 2005, 1 strike. 2007, 3 months. 2009, 4 months. 2010, 5 months. 2011, 1 month. 2013, 6 months. That was when Harry Sodimego was the chair. 2017, 1 month. 2018, 50 days. 2020, under COVID, 9 months. And season of salary. 2022, 8 months. I've calculated these. We have 7 years of lost academic life. And for me, when they talk about greener pastures elsewhere, all my 3 children, in fact 2 have graduated from here. It's a federal university. Do we have the money to send to private universities? So when they tell you through moral panic, when they invade you with pressure from the society of public, for you to cancel or remove your potency of strike, that the students are suffering. Are your sons and daughters not here? They are here. So do not succumb to moral panic like we did last year, like we did in other years. The moral panic is a not quite new. It's been there since 1970 by Young, by Cohen, theory of moral panic. But it's something that in social sciences that you can use to illuminate what is happening, the response of the public against this declaration of strikes. It's something that we used to do. And so for me, active participation has been total. You don't need to genderize participation, both male, female. You don't also need to look at it as something between the ranks, the professorate or the lower cadre. From our studies, it's been very clear. However, is there any hope for a strike-free public university system? Is there any hope? Is there any hope? Not in view. I said here that the looming cycle of strikes, there is a looming cycle of strike. Until they do things that they cannot do. I also do not see from the complexion of those in power, recently selected to lead us, whether there is going to be any change. Did I say selected or elected? Oh, sorry. Okay. Changing the narrative is going to be a little difficult. And that, I think, that is where the predicament of academics lie. Our predicament in public universities is continuing. We are torn between duty, we are torn between sacrifice, we are torn between union struggle. Because you measure the time you put in your research, in teaching your students, and the days you are out of work. In this university, Under the last leadership, if they see you around on campus, they will whip you. Very well, the Vice Chancellor of this university. I need to, please sit down. I need to acknowledge the Vice Chancellor, especially for what the VC has done. I don't want you there. So what I'm saying is that I can't thank the VC enough, even though he's not here, for the wife to be here, personally seated. You can't separate them. The VC is here. Yes. Madam, please, from the bottom, my heart and my family, we want to thank the Vice Chancellor. Yes, for the support, for the encouragement, particularly. The current Vice Chancellor is the Vice Chancellor that I have not had problems with. Yes. I took it upon myself to bring us in this university. But I must say I didn't do it alone. I must say so. But I led it. Emeka Ezeonu has since been dealt with. Before then, he was a roving scholar, this almost rusticated. Is it possible to use that word? Even worse, that he was a roving scholar. He was thrown away from the university. Frank Okoye slept in Abagana prison for 2 weeks. We were going to see him. Now I'm told that Osodeke cannot go to jail. That's why we called her for us. Who said so? You can go to jail for the union. That's the truth. That's the sacrifice we need. But this man called the current Vice Chancellor has been exemplary. When we went on 8-month strike, together with Harris, the committee sent by the farm, we went there and we saw him and we told him, listen, you know what we have come to tell you. You have to pay us something. You have to give us something. He said, how many are you talking about? About the entire university staff. He didn't argue. He paid us that money. Even if it's 10,000, multiply it. I'm sure it's more than 100 million. So that's why I said, no, on different occasions that we were moving around, protesting. Professor Simone joined that protest. So he has been solid. The same thing with Ike Nonyido. ASU National should find a way to celebrate Professor Charles Okechukwu. The same thing that I say for the Deputy Vice Chancellor. I didn't know he had ASU in his blood, but we are still watching. For the Odibo too, my very friend. For the management, there is no management. We've been told that now and again. There's nothing like university management. Let us not be deceived. There's nothing. I've said, I wrote a letter to Ilojugo. I wrote to Peter Ejiofor in writing. That there's nothing like university management. I will look at university law. They said, what am I talking about? Every week, every Monday, university management will sit. 8 to. An illegal management document is illegal. And that's true. My friends, the comrades, who helped in betting this struggle. If I had time, I would have talked about how my friend Harris followed me outside here after one of our meetings. He followed me outside. Hey, you, please, I want to join you in this struggle. Even though he will not agree to that now. That is true. He did after his Senate meeting. He followed me. Hey, you have carried this battle. Oh no. Let's find people that can bring us in this place with you. And we called the makers on. Called the Kwama. Called all of them. Before Asibo was a late joiner with the other of my friends. Father of Ejiofor was there, it's true. And we brought us just for the sake of our welfare, our betterment, our good. That's why ASU is working. And so I cannot. My only satisfaction, my gratitude, my happiness is that we have a Vice Chancellor listening to us. I hope that by the end of his tenure, he will not call for people to start sending things to him, like the past one did. Because this is an exemplary Vice Chancellor. I hope you won't do that. I've not had cause to quarrel with him because of that. Comrade Chairs, that is here come by the others. Ufara, I need to salute you. I need to salute our reward. I need to salute the zonal coordinator and Harris. I need to salute the other people who have been in this job. There's one man, I called him yesterday. I need to say that here today. Professor Okide, from where? Computer science. He was one of the few. When I was calling meeting under Iloji, and I had problems with sound there, the maker is on able to them. They would all of them fighting me. He was one of the few that was coming to the meeting. And people like Harry Border was coming there to look and then go to report back. But it's true. It was a personal struggle. And outside the university, sociology department, not outside the university. The family, my family is sociology. I'm rounding up. That's the best department for anybody to be. Mr. Vice Chancellor, I have a problem that I want to bring to your attention. I don't know how you look at it. There is a number 3 in the list of inaugural presenters. Please, that number 3, let's find the name of that number 3. And whether anything has happened since then that will mitigate, that will warrant a reintroduction of that name in that number 3 in the list is still vacant. Let's know what happened now, because it's important that that is done. Let's look at it and know whether anything, because I remember, I have it on good authority, it's about institutional memory, that something has been done to do what? To remove that and bring him back there. I think that I need to say that, because there is some sense of affinity between that and me in sociology, and I want to say that. Having said that, sociology is my family. I cannot thank you, and I don't want to start calling you. Faculty of Social Sciences here, my head of department, Bonauson. All the professors are here. My dean and the orator, you're here. And then the entire university community, the comrades in ASO, Sani, Nat, all of you are wonderful. And Rotarians that I'm going to lead next year in 7 years in the 7 states are here. My comrades, sorry, not comrades again, my brothers and sisters in the Knights of St. John, as a Papal Knight and also a Knight of St. John. I have very big respect and gratitude to my Lord Bishop. I need to mention my Lord Bishop, Bishop Paulinus Chukwuemeka Ezokafo, the Bishop of the Cardinal, Peter Ebelo Obalike, and Bishop of Ndewi Jonas Benson, and the priests in St. Patrick's Cathedral and the others. I need to mention them too. I also need to mention my students. They've been wonderful, former and present. I need to also acknowledge them. My family, the extended family. I start with Senator Ben in GOB. Ojeli Igbo, Uncles and Abbas Igbo. I say the extended family because I can't say anything in my family without Ojeli Igbo being there. He is there for me. Come rain, come sun. I need to pay him special tribute. And also the late Sir Engineer Tony Okechukwu that I lost last year. My very, very good friend. Family friend with a wife and family. I lost his son 2 years ago and himself last year. It was terrible. And then Dr. Clem Wobu, I need to mention him, please. Very important. Clem Wobu is a pillar of support. Whatever I do, call him anywhere. The support that I brought him to do in this university, I'm not sure that anybody knows. In Department of Mechatronics, where he set up, I don't know what is happening there. I don't know whether the thing is still there. Mr. Deputy Vice Chancellor, you may inquire to see what happened to that mechatronics endowment he made. Because I know we have talked about it before, but you can also inquire. Then, Chief Tony Okonkwo, very good friend. And my other very good friends from Oka. So many of them are here today. I appreciate them. I cannot stop without remembering my eldest brother, my siblings. Patrick Wachuku Noel is number 1 in my family, the patriarch of the home. In fact, I'm sure he's watching this at home in his house now. He even attended Professor Obaloba's school. Obaloba, where is she? Yes, he even attended that one. So I took it for granted that he will be here today. He said, okay, senior link, go and link. My other siblings, Patrick, Lizzie, C, Clemson, Connor, Abogi, the one that is in the film industry, my immediate elder brother, and the others, I acknowledge them. And then coming back home, my beautiful. No one is as beautiful as she is. I'm sure my girlfriend will agree to that. No one is as beautiful as she is. Why I doff my cap, her close friends call her boss. And I think she is the real boss. That's what they call her. She is the real boss. I have so much respect for her. Why? Because she's managed to contain me. To contain me and my problems is never happened. Serious for her. Then Akachukwu is in Abuja. I'm told that he's very close to Faro, you know, because he was the head of the pharmacy in Inaugural. Then Adese, where is Adese? But where are you? Come and wave now, come and wave to them, let them see you. Don't be in the kitchen. Chief Onaya, start coming. Yes. Adele just finished from electronics computer engineering. She just did her convocation. Now, give Chief Onaya space. Chief Onaya finished her second MB. Is it second or first? Which one? Second MB, yes. Yeah. So she's moving over to clinicals in the Navy. And then there's one that they call Bokiti. Tito. Tito, where are you? It's outside. Doing what? Yeah. Oh, that's why I said there's one they call Bokiti. Akachukwu is somewhere in Abuja. He's doing his youth service after pharmacy. He's finished